Welcome to the Define You Radio podcast, where class is always in session. Get ready for the life lessons, tips, and stories to help you define your life. And now, your host, the drill sergeant with love, Valencia Griffin Wallace.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another session of Define You Radio. I'm your host, Valencia Griffin Wallace. Class is in session today with our guest, Miss Shana Dewitt of shanadewitt.com. That's where you can find her. She is a business strategist and coach that helps entrepreneurs, and y'all know I have a hard time with that word. Y'all know. She helps business owners, how about that one, align who they are with what they do as they go through transitions in their business. And you guys, we always go through transitions from startup to middle to ending. Shana is the host of the Be Heard podcast and the creator of the Up Level Your Design Business course. When she's not working, you can find her planning her next adventure with her family. Y'all know that's like hashtag goals for me, okay? Goals. With that being said, let's go ahead and welcome Miss Shana to the show. How are you doing today, Miss Shana?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm really excited to have you on. Number one, you know, I'm all about family adventure, okay? But the fact that you are a business strategist, now, what exactly is that?
So a strategy in its simplest form is really just a plan. So I think that word can sound, kind of big and hefty, but really when you work with a strategist, they help you create a plan that has steps and small pieces so that you can actually reach your goals. So it's part goal setting and part developing the plan to reach those goals.
Awesome. And we're definitely going to go back and touch on that. But first, I want to kind of jump off and talk about obstacles. In the pre-show interview, so to speak, you mentioned that your biggest obstacle was your mindset. Is that a now thing or a past thing?
Well, I call it mindset work because it really is. I think that mindset is something that we have to work on every single day. Even people that you think, well, they must just be floating on a cloud, probably have done a lot of work to get there and continue to do that work. And I find that that is something that is really common in all entrepreneurs because you have to get so vulnerable. I feel like if you want to do some work on yourself, just start your own business. And that was the one thing that I didn't expect. I was thinking about things like, can I get clients, and how I would take the systems that I had used in my job as an art director and transform those to working with one-on-one. It did not occur to me that I would have to do all this mindset stuff. And specifically, the problems for me were showing up because I'm great in a crowd, in a boardroom, like no problem. But getting online and being visible, like on the internet, was so intimidating and so hard. And all these fears started creeping in, like people won't like me. They're going to hate my Southern accent. They're this and they're that. I mean, those are real things that I've really thought about. My voice is too nasal. My mom said something to me about that when I was a kid, and I've just never forgotten it. So all these kind of things, right? Other things would be everything's great when the money's flowing and the clients are there, but what happens when they're not? Like, how do you not take that personally? How do you not feel like a failure? And how do you pick yourself back up again and find some kind of separation between the two and really be able to define success and just like get up and put your big girl pants on? Those are all mindset issues that I don't think that people talk about enough because I was completely unprepared for that. And that's why I say it was the biggest obstacle, because I feel like if I had been able to work through those sooner, then my business would have grown faster.
Wow. Thank you for your transparency, number one, because a lot of times people that's in this quote unquote space are all, yes, everything's great. And you follow these steps and everything, you're confident and all of that. But one of the things that you said was about your accent. And what's funny is my accent because my audience knows I'm very Southern, and my accent kept me from speaking a long time. And somebody even said, Valencia, your voice is really heavy, and it's really this, and it's all of those things that I never thought about before. I know I have a gumbo of accents from my, travels and stuff when I was younger, but I never had an issue with my voice until it was time to, like, okay, in front of people, are they going to understand what I'm saying? Like, should I try to lighten my voice and talk softer, or whatever? So, and you're the only other person I've heard say that. And I don't know if it's a Southern thing, because, we do talk different. We're not California light.
I mean, we have an accent, but every person does. And I have to say, I won't call any names, but I would say that out of all the accents, I don't think the Southern one is the hardest to listen to. I think there are other ones that are worse.
I agree 100%, and we won't call anybody out, but a few places, come to mind. I'm sure my audience are going through going through some of the guests that we've had, and yeah, so I understand that 100%. And I think that a lot of times as we get in business, fears or things like that surface that we didn't know was there. To me, you're more conscious of what you do, especially on social media, because there's a lot of, keyboard gangsters, as I like to call them. Everybody has an opinion on what you say, what you're trying to do, different things like that. And you kind of have to constantly put on a thicker skin to remind you that, like, this is really kind of voluntary, you know?
Well, okay, so the accent thing, it still kind of bothers me sometimes. Or well, that's not the best way to put it. So I still sometimes worry about what other people think of my accent.
Yeah.
Because you've probably experienced this at some point or another, but people can be very condescending
Yeah.
once they hear the Southern accent, like you're stupid or you don't wear shoes, or I'm not really sure what they think. But I went to a conference once and I wore a t-shirt that I made myself, and it's with one of my friends, and it said, "Yes, I'm from Mississippi, and yes, I wear shoes." Because I thought, like, I'll just put it out there. And it was fine. It was I wore it to a little mixer, so it was a good conversation starter. But so even though I feel like that sometimes, and I kind of worry about it, the other part of me knows that if you're not really being yourself, whatever that looks like, you're never going to be comfortable. And if you're not comfortable, then you're not able to talk about your passion and your mission like you really want to. So basically, even though I worry about it sometimes, like sometimes that fear creeps back in, the overall thing is like, I don't have time to be somebody else. I don't. And so I'm just going to be myself. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't like it, that's okay too. Because I'm actually fine with that. I realize I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I'm totally fine with that. But what I don't like is the uncomfortable feeling of trying to be somebody that I'm not.
I love that. I love it. And who knew two Southern women would be able to have this conversation? But what's funny to me, you don't have an accent. But you know what I hear all the time, being from Louisiana, people expect the accent they hear on TV. And so they know I'm Southern, but they can't pinpoint what part of the South. And then when I say, well, I'm from Louisiana, oh, well, you don't sound like somebody from Louisiana. Well, what exactly do we sound like? Or a question I used to get all the time, like, is it true y'all still have plantations there? Like, which I'm like, yeah, but yeah, we don't have slavery though. I mean, like, what are you asking me? So It is, and I do understand, like, people assume, when you're from the South, certain things about you, like, oh, so do you have any and you didn't bring any boudin? Like, do you think that's all we eat? Do you think I carry it in my purse? I don't even eat hot sauce. Like, all those things are going through my mind. But and recently when I was in Atlanta, somebody actually said that, like, you don't have and you didn't bring any boudin. Like, am I traveling randomly with, like, I don't even eat boudin. So, I love gumbo and, definitely my southern seasonings, but I'm not traveling with boudin, okay? I just thought I'd throw it out there. That was quite interesting.
Yeah, for anybody that wants to know, you don't have it.
I
But I had
look, I'm gonna get a shirt that says that.
I had made a new friend, and she was from Colorado, and she told her mom, like, I met this girl and she's from the South, she'd never met a Southern person before. And her mom said, oh, I bet she likes collard greens. I thought that was so funny.
Oh my gosh. I blame the media. I blame the media that, I do believe, like, the media's portrayal of Southern people definitely doesn't do us any justice. Um, we're not all like, we don't all have gardens and, have hens where we're growing our own eggs, or not growing our own eggs, but it's very interesting. I actually live in a subdivision. Mind you, it's across the street from a sugarcane field, but, so that's, boy, I'll tell you, that is a shirt I'm gonna get made, and I'm gonna post that shirt on social media. So back to the business strategist. Who do you think needs one? Like, who needs a business strategist? Is that something everybody needs, or what would you say? Like, who specifically needs a business strategist?
Well, I think that everyone can use a business strategist, but there are definitely certain times in your business where you need one more than other times. And with my strategy, I mix it with coaching so that you have someone who's supporting you the entire time. So you have someone to call when some of that mindset stuff comes up and you are feeling hesitant about making a sale, or posting something on Instagram, or whatever that might be. And you also have someone to kind of push you when you need to be pushed, because we don't wake up and say, I want to be uncomfortable, but you know that you have to go get uncomfortable sometimes, because that's usually the place where you have the most opportunity for growth. Um, but I'll give you an example of some of the things that someone might come to me for. If you really want to, let's say, launch some passive income, and so you are really wanting to create a course and launch that, there is at least a 6-month period of things that you have to do before you ever even launch the course. And so when you work with a strategist, they can break all of that down for you so that you know exactly what you have to do every month, every quarter. You have monthly goals, quarterly goals, so that you're actually going to meet that and make it happen, because a whole lot of work goes into launches. So not even just creating the content, but creating the launch. You also have to build up your email list, and there's so many different things. And so a business strategist will create that plan for you. Another way that I work with people that really helps is if they are wanting to, like you said in the intro, they're wanting to transition their business. So maybe you are a graphic designer, but you want to do something totally different and be a healer. Or maybe you just want to serve a totally different group of people, or serve them in a different way. Then you also don't want to lose all of the momentum that you've got. You don't want to lose all of the clients and followers that you already have. And so a strategist will help you reposition your content and your message and shift your business. So if you want to think about it like a ball of clay, and we're going to mold it into something else, so we're not going to throw the clay out. And I just break that down into steps. So basically, I make things easy for you. You don't have to worry. You don't have to read 1,000 blog posts, or just worry, or spend months writing copy on your website to turn around and do it again. So I help people establish a really good foundation and then a strategy that matches it.
I'm so glad you touched on that as far as transitioning in business, because I think a lot of times, and I know me personally, um, I currently serve women, and that has changed as far as like my message to them, but I'm also a child advocate. And that's, like that is my passion. So in the process of looking for more ways to serve children, children that's in the system and things like that, it's like, do I need to start a whole other brand? Like how, so that's something like I'm currently in my mind, because I've built, my brand this way, serving this audience in this way. But, my heart is definitely always have been for serving children. So would that be um a transition? Would it be like, nobody wants to create two separate brands? Like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes a sister brand is necessary, but
Mm,
most of the time it's not. And what you're talking about is super, super common because we're creatives, we're multi-passionate.
right.
And these particular questions don't exactly apply to you, but usually I ask people a series of questions like, if they come to me and they say, I'm a photographer, but I also have gotten training to be a life coach. And then I also like to do these digital products, or that's something different. Um, I ask them, what is the thing that you want to be known for?
Mm,
Because that can really help you change around your thinking so that you're really focused on the way that you really want to show up and serve. Because sometimes the other things that you're passionate about are part of your tools. They are part of your brand story that really separates you from other people because it shows how you do things differently. It's
mm,
not always the thing that you outright make your money on.
gotcha.
Um, so, like in that example with the photographer or life coach kind of thing, she could be a life coach specifically for photographers. And then
Mm,
that would make sense in her business building projects and things like that she has. Um, but for you, yours would be a little bit different, where I would say if you think about what you really want to do and how you really want to serve, you'll see that the speaking that you do, the books that you're writing, and this passion to find new ways to be able to help children is really all the same thing,
mm,
because the
interesting.
root of it is the same. It comes from the same value, it comes from the same mission. It's just that you're executing it in these different ways, but the root is the same.
Love that. So this is why I call the show Classes in Session, because I'm constantly learning and taking notes. And I know one of the things I see a lot, and then, I definitely want to touch on brand messaging, but one of the things I see a lot with women, they, want to jump head first. And I say women because that's primarily who I deal with. They want to jump head first into, this is my horror story of life, and I want to help women. But I'm like, if you want to help women, how did you get over the horror story versus focusing on the horror story? You know what I'm saying? Because I see that a lot. I see that a lot. So I guess that kind of goes into talking about brand messaging.
Well, I'll touch on a little bit of what you just said.
Okay.
I think that it's really important for us to tell our stories,
Yeah.
but there's a timing to it, because you can't inspire people, you can't teach people, you can't encourage people until you've gone through it. When you're in it, it's not the time to tell your story. It's the time to look for help and support, but it's not the time to share in a way that you're trying to inspire and help other people. So that's a little piece of it. Is just waiting until you have the right time, and then The other thing that's really content specific about stories
Mm-hmm.
is that your about page, your brand story, that needs to be relevant to the people. So you may think, wait a second, Shana, that's supposed to be about me. It is about you, but it's about you as it relates to your customer, because they want to, they're thinking about themselves. I mean, they're coming to you for something, right? I mean, that's obvious. So they want to see themselves within your story. They want to be inspired by your story as it relates to the problems that they're having themselves. So while it's great, and I'm not saying don't share things that are personal about your personality, like things that you like or that kind of thing. I'm saying that in the bigger scope of things, people don't really care about that.
Mm.
You know, they do. Not like they don't want to know anything about
you hit the nail on the head. Because even when I hear, because I'm a writer. I said by nature, that's my thing since I was 8 years old. And so now I get people that come to me wanting advice or help writing, publishing, whatever. And one of the things that I find is that, how did you get past whatever? Like, you see people put a lot, I don't look like what I've been through. And that other side of me, that southern part of me, that's like, I say, we're born nice, nasty, kind of like dear heart or something like that. So, like, okay, so we know what you went through, but how did you get out? Like, what's the hero part of the story? Or is it still the victim part? Because if it's the victim part, it's going to limit you in what you do. If you understand what I'm saying with that.
Yeah, I mean, people can get behind, get invested in, get inspired by transformation, whether it's a sales page
Yes.
or your brand story, your about page. That's what people love, is that transformation. And so just to kind of expand on that within your content, the importance of having your brand story is because you're going to use that to position yourself as an expert and as a person that relates. So I say that you want to find the common thread between who you are and what you do, because that's the way that you mix personal with business, show your personality, show your unique voice, but it's how you're going to position yourself as this expert. And so you really want to think about that in every post that you make and the services that you provide and the way that you talk about your business. It should all be very consistent. Not that you're having to like constantly tell your story, especially if it's kind of like a longer and more personal thing.
Right.
But what is your point of view? Like, what is your stance? What is your overall lesson that you learned from all of this, that you are infiltrating into all of the ways that you communicate with other people? Excuse me, as far as your business goes.
It's like, what's the point?
Yes.
Shana just said it nice. But y'all know I just say it. Like, what's the point, lady? Get to the point, dude, Excuse me. What is the difference between brand story, because you said that a few times, and brand messaging?
So a brand story is your foundational story. It's kind of like you said, that like the hero's journey, right? So in your brand story, you're telling your why. It's basically the story of your why. So it's what got you into what you're doing right now, and then where have you gone from here? So this is why I do what I do, and now that I've learned all of these things, this is how I serve people. And that's really your brand story. And your brand message is a smaller piece of that. So it's a more concentrated version of that. So it's going to be your mission. It's that mission, like I was just talking about, that you want to put into everything that you do. Like, for example, my work is very much about connecting with your values and blending who you are and what you do, instead of trying to like separate those things out. And a lot of the work that I do is all of it really is focusing on those values first, so those brand foundations, and building from there, like using that as a map to grow your business and keep yourself really focused in on who you are and your brand message. Because When you are very clear on that, then other people are too.
Love that. Love that. Do you see a lot of people doing it wrong as far as telling their brand story, the messages they're putting out there? Do you see, as because I'm sure being a business strategist and dealing with that whole thing, you have a different eye. So do you see somebody's stuff and like, okay, what? Do you ever do that?
I don't want to say that somebody's doing it wrong,
Right.
but because I'm nice, I'm going to say no. I mean, um, I wouldn't say that people are doing it wrong, but I would say that you'll know if you are because it doesn't feel right.
Mm,
Because when you are so super solid in who you are and what your message is, you know what to offer, you know how to talk about your business. There's never that point where you're not sure, like, you know what to post on social media because you have such a clear message. You're saying the same thing over and over again. When someone asks you what you do, you immediately tell them. There's no like awkward pause where you're not totally sure. And, a lot of people have a brand message that we may not like. And that's kind of
right.
another thing to notice when you are, well, I'll just say for me, I'm not really into this, into people that really promote themselves as being like luxury or glamorous
Yeah.
because like, I don't really identify with that.
Yeah.
I identify with people that are more in line with the things that I value. And so not that there's anything wrong with being glamorous and luxurious, because there's lots of people that seek that out. But I'm just saying, like, you see that in the visual representation of their brand. You see that in the words that they use within their content. You see that within the services that they offer of whatever that is, whether it's something that's very like warm and fuzzy and nurturing, or whether it's something that's like, focusing on glamour and luxury and very high end or whatever. So there's not a wrong or right, but being really specific is going to attract the kind of customers that you want. So you don't want to attract people that are not your ideal, where you're
Right.
trying to change yourself to serve them. So if you have people that are calling you or contacting you in some way and you know that they're not the right kind of clients, that's a for sure sign that your brand messaging is off.
Mm. I love everything about what you just said. I love everything about what you just said because like I look at the adventures and I love that you included that with your family and I like I said I'll go back and say this, I don't know if it's a southern thing. Okay, my New York family and friends and don't email me or anything of that, but people that know me and people that pay attention to um who Valencia is as a person knows I'm all about my family. That includes my little psycho dogs. And because this is my happy place. This is who Valencia is and what she values is I value my family and that quality time with them. And in a very simple life with them. Like, staying at home and those things, or playing games or something like that, like not us taking luxury trips wherever. Cause I'm like, I don't have time to wear heels all that time. Like I'm not built for that. So I love that you said that and now it makes sense why some brands that other people like, oh my gosh, this other people find really fabulous and everything else. I look at it like I don't know. That's like not me, not what I value. So as we're talking about values, and I want to know how did growing your business around your values, how did it change you, change your business? Um, because values are important, especially in business growth. So let's talk a little bit about that.
So like a lot of entrepreneurs, I started off doing something different. So I did branding and web design, and I tried a lot of different things. So the first thing that I did was transfer what I already knew, what I knew that I was good at. So I did branding and web design. And then did that for a little while, and I got a little bit more specific about what that was going to look like. And then I got more specific about who that customer was going to be. And then I kind of came to a holding part where I had to make some different decisions. And that's when it kind of clicked in with me about the values. So I was using that to help my clients do their branding. Like that's part of their whole brand foundations, really getting to know you, to create a brand that, that mirrors that. And then it's kind of like all clicked in that the same thing applies to everything else, right? So at the time I had a brand new baby. And so that was really important. I mean, the whole reason why I started my business was to spend time with my family. And that had really changed with the new baby in the house as far as like how much time I had to spend doing projects and things like that. And so I shifted my business model to offer different services that would reflect the new time constraints so that I could work and still have time with my family. And then I used the same model, the same values with the wording to then take that farther and make sure that all of my content was reflective of that. And it became this whole blueprint for being able to grow my business. And it reminds me of when you take little kids bowling and they put up the bumpers so that they don't throw the ball in somebody else's lane. Essentially, you're creating bumpers for your business so that you can also have the freedom to throw out ideas, because we're creative, right? Like we want to try new things and still be able to find a bumper so that you're not just like throwing your stuff in somebody else's lane. So you're in your own lane, but you still have some freedom and flexibility at the same time. One of my values is adventure. And the way that that plays out in life is lots of different things. We have real adventures, and we like to be outside and go do things on the weekends. And we're much more about having experiences rather than like buying gifts. We usually would just go do something instead. Mm-hmm. And in my business, I like to be able to experiment and try new things. And also every time I have a new client and we get on that first call, like I'm so excited, and it gives me a little high the rest of the day because I really love people, and it's like an adventure to get to know this new person and start thinking about all these ideas that I have for their business. And I hope that's a good explanation of sort of how that works and how you can kind of think about your business differently. Because when I say values, it's not like, okay, well, I'm a good person. It's really kind of digging in deeper so that you can see that things that are important to you in your life are also important to you in your business. And when you operate from that way of this continuity, it just gives you a different outlook and different ideas about how to scale from that place.
And it makes sense because a lot of people start businesses with the intent of, I need more time with my family. And the business, because it's not built around that value, it's just a business, ends up taking more time away from their family. And then you'll see later in life they're getting a divorce or something like that because the original reason why they started the business, they didn't hold true to their values, you know?
Yeah, and it's another way when I mentioned like staying in your own lane. It's very easy to get sidetracked and to compare yourself to other people, to absorb other people's ideas. And while there's so much information out there that's very useful, you need to incorporate that into what you already have. And so when you are really clear about, again, your branding, your message, and your values, then you can absorb some of that stuff instead of letting it completely throw you off course or feeling like you have to try something different every week, or even just wasting time doing things that don't feel right for you. Like you hear a lot about, and I think it's kind of calmed down a bit, but I would say especially maybe a year or two ago, it was all about, let's be hands off in our business. Let's automate everything so we can scale like crazy and all this kind of stuff. But now you're kind of seeing people turn around and want to be more hands-on. Well, I know for myself, while I do have a course, it's because I felt like I had something to offer someone at a lower price point, and I want to help and work with as many people as possible. But I love working one-on-one. That's what I love to do. That's what makes me feel good. And so I'm not going to be sidetracked and try to think of different ways that I can scale and work with 5 times as many people, but not be present as much, because that's not what I want to do right now.
I love that. I love that. And you're right. Everything was exactly how you said, but I think even as I look for, one of the things I like about people is when people email me or even inbox me on social media, it's always funny, not so much now, but like you said, maybe about a year ago, give or take, people would like, actually, is this really Valencia? Because I guess they were just used to a less hands-on approach. And to me, I'm like, who else who else, you know, who else would it be? I'm not, Oprah or Tony or Lisa. And so I think that's very interesting that people are getting more hands-on, hopefully, because to me, it's like, if I'm spending money with you, honestly, then I'm invested in who you are, because a lot of people offer the same or very similar things, to where you could just, okay, I could do this because they offer that, and then it's kind of like a price competition situation. But when somebody invests in you, kind of like that know, like, and trust factor, like, yeah, I would probably like a little time. That's just my personal feelings. But then my friends say sometimes I could be the needy friend. But I'm an Aquarius and I'm a creative, so we're our own special kind of people. And you mentioned that, I love the term that you use, creative, because a lot of people don't understand that. And you also mentioned that you had an arts background, you work with the arts or something.
Yes, I went to Memphis College of Art and University of Memphis, and then worked as an art director and a user interface designer.
Love it. I am so what aspect of art, because there's so many different aspects of art, what aspect of art was your favorite, or had your heart, so to speak?
That's actually really funny, because I went into college with a double degree in graphic design and photography.
Mm,
But I liked graphic design for the organizational part of it. I liked the problem solving aspect of it, but
okay.
I never felt super passionate about the actual designing. And I thought, well, I think I'll be a really great art director, but maybe not as good of a designer. Or I just felt like I had to work really hard for it. But photography came easy, and I really loved that. So it's kind of funny. Like, I went into it with a very practical kind of mindset about it, and
Yeah.
I'm glad, because it led me to where I am today, which is doing coaching and strategy, and I 100 million% love that. So I'm glad. But I think if I had it to do over again, I would have rather taken a few more risk, I guess, or my fit version of risk, and done something that I was more passionate about from the beginning.
Yeah. I am I think, I don't want to say most people, but to me, we all have a creative side, just in different areas. And if we learn to bring that part into not just our business, but our personal lives. And my art, like, I was hands on with the art, so I did a lot of drawing, a lot of pointillism, a lot of different mediums that way. And that also translated into writing, so I've always been good with that aspect of it. And now, because I'm a very visual person, when I write, or even when I do interviews, like, I could see, okay, taking notes, okay, I know where to go next. I know how to pull the questions out. So I could see where my experiences in art is still very present today. And it sometimes it amazes me, even my eye, when I look at things, when you have an artist's eye, and when you create graphics, or you do whatever, or you get a book cover done or something, your eye is different than people that have yet to explore that side of them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and I think creativity is just problem solving. I
Yeah,
100% believe that everybody is creative. I mean, mathematicians, they're creative, and you might think, well, that's not creative, it's not art. But it's that problem solving, it's that space where you're figuring something out. And that's why I also think that art is great for everyone,
yeah,
whether you think you're good at it or not, because it's just about fueling your creativity for something else. So like especially when I was doing a lot of web design, that's so structured. And so I really
yeah.
needed something that was different than that. And I did a lot of abstract painting just for
Really? I think I've tried, but I'm OCD. So that didn't work well with me trying to do abstract because I'm very, orderly by nature. And I've tried because I love the outcome when I go to museums and trying to figure out what the picture is or whatever. But whenever I've tried to create something abstract, it like burns my eyebrows. I don't know what other way to say it. Like, oh my gosh, this is not gonna work. But I love that. I love plays and the lighting with plays and things like that. Like to me, when you explore that side and let that side really explore you, it opens you up to knowing who you are in your personal life and in business, which brings me to being in alignment with your business. If you could expand on that part when somebody's not in alignment with their business. And you kind of touched on it earlier when you said if you're doing, like if you're doing it wrong because it doesn't feel right, which I loved. I totally wrote that down. But let's talk about being in alignment with your business.
So you know that you're not in alignment when you are pushing yourself in a way that really doesn't feel good. It feels super hard. It consistently feels hard. So for example, a friend of mine and I just started doing these Instagram lives every week on Friday. And I was so nervous about it. I felt like that was something that I really needed to do to get more visible, really show up
Yeah.
in a different way. And I had to just make myself do it. Oh my gosh, I didn't want to do it. But after a couple of times, it was really easy. And now, believe it or not, I look forward to it. I really do. I look forward to it every Friday. We just get online and talk for like 10 minutes. But if I were to continually feel not good about that, if it was hard every time, then I would know that that was not in alignment with who I was and how I wanted to do business. So there's a difference between being uncomfortable and things being unnecessarily hard. So if you are making yourself do something like, let's say you don't love to write, but you're making yourself write these really long posts and it's taking you forever and you just kind of hate it,
Yeah.
that's not in alignment with who you are. So anytime you have that feeling, you just need to question yourself about, am I just uncomfortable? Or is this something that's really not for me? It can be the kind of clients you're serving. If you are constantly talking to them about one particular thing and you think, I felt like I don't ever want to talk about this again, but you're afraid that you won't have any more clients, you
Right.
know that something's just not right. It's like your passion's just not there that anymore. And you hear a lot of times about people who have even successful programs, maybe a mastermind or some kind of group or something like that. And they shut it down because they finally just accept the fact that that's not where they are anymore. And it just doesn't feel good. So that's a little bit more detailed about what I mean as far as not feeling good. I know it's a feeling thing, but it is, and we've all had a feeling about something
Yeah.
like that before. I felt that way about web design and branding. It wasn't like I hated it. It wasn't
Right.
like I won't do it, because I do. I still take on some of those projects as I'm transitioning my own business, but I know it just wasn't for me anymore. It just wasn't the thing that lit me up. And so when we can get back into alignment, things should be easy. It should be easy
Mm.
for you to know, like, oh, this is a really great idea in a way that I can reach more people. This is a really great new service that I could offer that I really think will be good for my people. When you're in alignment, it's a lot easier. So it challenged everybody to really think about that. Is it uncomfortable, or is it unnecessarily hard?
I love that. I love that so much. And I wanted to real quick, because I will do a Facebook Live. I do more in my private group. But for some reason, whenever I think about doing Instagram live, I'm like, no, why? So is it, have you done Facebook Live? I'm sure you have.
Let me think. I don't think I have actually.
Oh, really?
No, I don't think I have. I'm really not on Facebook very much. I don't have it on my phone. I just don't do Facebook very often. I have a few groups that I get into and chat, but I don't really do much with my own group or my
But
own page actually.
you're primarily on Instagram?
Primarily on Instagram.
Okay, so of course it made sense to have do the Instagram live, because I really want somebody that could tell me the difference. And I also think it's with the age group you serve as well, and who you are. Because I'm not going to guess your age, but I'm in my 40s, so which I'm very proud to say, 42. So so Facebook is like that comfortable space for me, which is probably a problem because I'm comfortable there. But
Yeah.
that's where the audience that I serve, like, I'll peep on Instagram, but when I don't watch Instagram lives, Facebook Live is like my jam. I can handle it. I know how to maneuver around there. And a guy friend of mine who's an actor, he doesn't even have a Facebook page, which I told him he at least needs one because he's all about Instagram. But he said something to me. He was like, well, I don't think I would enjoy it. And if it's something I think I'm not going to enjoy, I'm not going to do it. And I'm like, what?
That's a really good point, though.
And it makes so much sense when he said it. But then my business mind kick in. Like, for business, wouldn't you want to be on Facebook too? But everything you said just made what he said right. And I won't tell him that, though. I will not tell him that, So, business is hard work. I think people underestimate the work that goes into business because everybody has a side hustle, And so a lot of times people will say, well, look at your business as a side hustle and vice versa. What is the business? What is the business? What is the difference between business and side hustle to you? And do you think people underestimate a real business?
I think the difference is mostly just your own mindset because, there's a difference between a business and a hobby because a hobby is not something that you make money on. So that's pretty clear. But I think the intent is about you because if you're a side hustle, it could still be more of a hobby, like maybe you're making money on it, but you have no intention. It could be an outlet for you, and that is totally okay. I had an Etsy store for a long time when I was doing all the abstract painting. I had an Etsy store, and I didn't think that it was going to be replace my regular income or retire my husband or anything like that. It was mostly just for fun. But so I really think that it's about you and what you're going to do, because lots of people start their business on the side and they wait until they can replace their income and they quit that job. I know people that have two really successful businesses because one is their full-time job and one is what they call their business. But hours wise, or since they have a full-time job, other people may just consider that a side hustle. So I really just think that's you and your mindset on how you view that, because that's going to depend on everything that you do, like how serious you are about it, how much time you put into it, how often you share it, how much you talk about it. If you have a side hustle that you're intending on replacing your full-time business, then when you meet people, you tell them what you do and you tell them the side hustle do, not the I'm a teacher do.
I love that clear distinction. I love that. Because I've thought about setting up an Etsy store. I don't know why, but it just seemed like, something to do. But in my mind, I'm like, Valencia, you don't want to start a whole other business, but that could just be a little project. So thank you for clearing that up.
It could totally be part of your creative outlet. Like, you don't know what that might lead to. So I am fueled by curiosity. So I am willing to step in and take a look around pretty much anything. But I'm also very, very grounded in my message of who I am and what I'm doing. I do I take Arbonne and Juice Plus, and I tried to sell it. I really wasn't very good at it, but I didn't introduce my. I'm not good at it at all. But that's not why I got into it. I got into it because I love the products and I wanted a discount, right? Because people want discounts. And but when I got introduced myself, I was focused on my design business. I wasn't focused on trying to be the next Arbonne MVP or whatever they're called.
Right.
So I think it's about your mindset. So you need to put your energy and your focus into the thing that you want to be known for.
Love that. Great clarity. So from your mindset to business strategists and helping other people, and we know this whole journey could be frustrating. What kept you motivated along the way?
My motivation was definitely my family, because when I was working as an art director, I was so rushed all the time. I felt like every night I just said, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up to my little one 1,000 times. And I hated it. And I just thought, life is not supposed to be like this. It's just not supposed to be this way. And I mean, there were times where I thought about going back to a regular job, and actually went into a big agency because that had been my dream before, was big agencies. And I went in and talked to them. And the minute I walked in the door and saw everybody at their desk, I physically felt ill. And I thought, okay, this is serious. This is the real deal. I'm not just freelancing anymore. I own a business and I'm going to make this happen. And that was really a huge turning point for me. I took mindset. I took myself seriously. It wasn't a in between thing until I did something else. It was like, oh no, there's no going back now. This has got to work. There is no fallback plan here.
Is that where, at that point, is that where you saw the shift in your business, so to speak, when you was like, going back to this is no longer an option? Is that where you saw the shift in your business?
Oh, definitely. I mean, my energy was totally different after that. I was going to figure it out and make sure, that just with that little piece in the back of my mind, like, well, I can always go get another job. The level of commitment wasn't there, but not in the work that I did with my clients, but in myself.
Yeah.
And that's everything. If you don't believe that you can do it, nobody else is going to believe it for you.
You have just hit, I know, like, truly, class is in session, and this is truly what people need to look at and listen to the whole interview, definitely more than once. Go back and take your notes, because this is like that one class that determines whether you graduate. Okay, that's the only way I could, like, this is the graduate level of Define You Radio, because I want people to learn to take their passions and go hard, know that there is no plan B, and get in alignment. That's my 5 cents. So what one tip, if nobody catches anything else you said, what one tip would you like to leave the audience with today?
My one tip would be that if your business is something that you really want to do, then do whatever it takes to make sure that every day you are showing up and 100% believing that you are the best, whatever it is that you do. Because when it comes to faith, you either believe that you are, or you're acting like you don't. And it's up to you to be all in. So if it's black, even if it's hard, if it's black and white there, and you have to believe that you're 100% the best or you're not, I think that all of us are going to choose to believe that we are. So believe that you are every day, and show up and be yourself.
I love that. I always say faith makes things possible, not easy, but you still got to have faith.
Totally true.
How can the audience get in touch with you?
Well, you can find me at shanadewitt.com, or you can find me on Instagram at Shanna_Dewitt. And I'd love for you guys to tune into the Be Heard podcast.
And if they go to your website, they could find that information as well for the
Yes,
podcast?
you can find everything there. And if any of you would like to have some help defining your values, you can go to shanadewitt.com/free call and sign up for a free call with me.
Yay. Y'all definitely take advantage of that while she has time. Okay. You know, she's on to her next adventure.
You never know where I'm going to show up.
Right. You never know. So definitely take advantage of that. It has been a great interview, Shanna, you know, from one Southern Belle to another. You're awesome. Okay.
Well, thank you. I've loved talking to you and getting to know you and our Southern accents that we're very proud of.
I know. People, look, you guys come to the South. It's a reason we're here. So with that being said, Queens, pens and papers down, class is officially over. Make sure you connect with Miss Shanna at shanadewitt.com. Until next time, remember your past doesn't define you. It gives you definition, and what you do with that is up to you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Connect with the show at the Define You Facebook. Until next time, remember your past doesn't define you. It gives you definition, and what you do with that is up to you.